whenever you are. And I was like, so am I.
Oh, did
I
you?
yeah, well, no, I didn't just text that. Like whenever you just said, I'm good whenever, like I saw you on your phone and I was like, he's texting me. What he's doing right now is texting me.
I
And
was not.
then,
No, I was not.
oh, well, whatever then.
I was Instagramming. I was
Oh,
Instagram storying. Who fucking cares? Uh, so my computer is a whirly monster, as always, of just making noise.
hmm.
So I think until we have a viewer, well, I mean, now we're not doing anything, but when we start the show, I'm gonna turn off the cameras until we get a viewer, and then I'll pop them back on.
Okay,
But we're gonna start the show.
sure. This is gonna be really fumbly and bumbly, so get ready for some editing.
Dope.
My cipher started out as like a whole other thing, and then hard left turn. I got interested in another thing, so I started falling
Classic.
down a completely separate rabbit hole. Kind of. I
All
kind of
right,
followed down a. You ready?
hit it.
Oh, I gotta look. I gotta make a joke.
Oh, for the
Okay, yeah,
end.
I got it. No. I
Okay.
gotta. I'm doing a thing for the beginning. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome to Solve It. This is a podcast where we talk about puzzles, codes, and the history of encryption. I'm Zach Johnson, and co-hosting with me, as always, is
Sam Cherry.
Hey Sam. How you doing this week?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. We have to really get this show on the road because Sam sent me a very cryptic text before we recorded today, which just said, I'm going into the woods later, so we'll have to make it a short episode, which in very Sam fashion just says, I'm going into the woods. And the second I read that, I just assumed that later on this year, I will be going into those same woods with a shovel and digging up some sort of puzzle machine or something.
Uh, that had not occurred to me. But yeah, I think it's pretty, now it has now occurred to me. That seems like a pretty straightforward text. I live, as you could tell from the last clue I sent you, I live near the woods, and I am just going to go into them with a backpack and some hiking boots, and I will just
Mm.
walk into the woods, and then after some undetermined amount of time, I will walk out of the woods, and that will
Hmm.
be my day. This is a confluence of various things, but I recently, and as recently last night, I watched a movie that I don't remember the name of, but it was like looking for the
It,
wilder people.
was it Into the Woods?
It was not Into the Woods. Is that a scary movie?
No, it's a movie where this guy lives like in the Alaskan wilderness, and he succumbs to something which is my greatest fear, or one of my greatest fears,
No.
which is not having enough research about something and dying because of it. And the whole story is like it's his journey into the woods, and then he like ate these poisonous mushrooms,
No.
and then it was lights out. And I was just like,
You are
oh
thinking.
man, that is just one of my greatest fears, is because he like ate the mushrooms and then he like saw this chart. He was like, oh man, these are poisonous mushrooms. Also, spoiler alert for all the people that haven't seen or read Into the Woods.
You were thinking of Into the Wild.
Oh my gosh, I
Into the
am.
Woods.
Oh my gosh.
Into
Oh
the Woods is a scary movie.
no, Into the well, no. Even
I'll
funnier.
look it up right now.
No,
But I'm
no,
pretty sure Into the Woods.
no. Into the Woods is a Broadway musical.
Okay, whatever. And okay, so I've become more and more convinced that my phone listens to me while I talk, like all the time, like it's constant listening to me. Um,
Okay, Edward Snowden. What else?
because I no. Okay, so recently I was on the phone with a friend, and we were going to the West End of Nashville, and he was looking for a Target because he wanted to go to Target, and I typed in Target Nashville, and it auto-filled with West. It was like, oh, do you mean in the west part of town? Like, not any other one? It's like, oh, the West. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then right now, I got onto Google, and I typed the word or I typed the letter I, and it was like, do you mean Into the Woods? And it's like, I do mean Into the Woods.
So you're gonna
But
start
yeah,
like
it's also
are you gonna start like saying like typing in things to Google that are like kind of snides to it, like eavesdropping is rude and things like that.
um, Into the Woods is a movie that seems to be starring Anna Kendrick,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or another white woman that looks like her. I'm just looking at the poster, but it's also a movie. Um, I did not go see Into the Woods or Into the Wild, although Into the Wild I think would have a
Man.
similar effect. I saw Looking for the Wilder People, which is about this boy and a father figure living out in the woods for like several months, which was cool. And then I'm also reading Wild at Heart, and so obviously
Mm.
it was like, oh, I'm a man. I should go into the woods. Like that's what I should do is just walk into the woods, and then at
That is
some point, if my wits are about me, walk out of the woods.
gosh,
Um,
that is so you. Ah, man.
that's why I'm doing it.
I know. Jeez Louise. Do you have like are you gonna make a fire out there in very Sam
See, I don't
fashion?
know. Okay, here, no, this is the long game. I know I'm just going into the woods, and I am gonna stay out there until it starts to get sunset, and then go home.
Okay.
Like I'll probably get home at night because I'll just be walking until like, oh, it's 7. I should turn around and then get back at like 9 or whatever. But the plan is, because it's a very big lake that I live near, is to find like camping grounds around the lake and then have
Mm.
a 2 or 3 day trip where I just hike around the lake and sleep at different camping sites along the way, and I circumvent the lake. That's the goal, is to take a
Nice.
weekend and circumvent the lake. But today is just go into the woods and
It's
come out of the woods.
ooh.
So
That sounds like a two-part biography. That
into the
it's go
woods.
into the woods. Yeah, go into into the woods and then out of the woods. Yeah, that's a yeah, that is a Broadway musical and a Taylor Swift song. You could really capitalize on that market.
Oh, of course it's a Taylor Swift song. I know that. I like that song.
You do. For
No,
all of our
no,
viewers
you're
that don't
thinking
know
of.
Sam personally, Sam is non-ironically a huge fan of Taylor Swift, and his passion for that
And I
has
know that
made
it's
me
called
a
Out of the
non.
Woods.
Huh? Oh
It's
yeah.
called Out of
Oh
the
man,
Woods.
funny thing in this episode, I was going to reference that. Not, I mean, I was going to reference kind
Well,
of. Okay, well, when we get, do you want to start the episode?
I guess we did already start it. We said hello and all,
Oh yeah, we did say hellos and stuff.
but
Do you want me to
it's
go through
Out
the
of the
spiel?
Woods
Though? Yeah, I
about
know.
me being an unironic Taylor Swift fan.
No. It wasn't about that. It was about your sweeping and impassioned conversations about things that just draw people into your gravity.
Ugh,
Uh,
sure.
and the person we're talking about today has a very similar skill set. And when I was looking up one of this person's quotes, I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally a thing that Sam would say.
Do you want to? I might cut this depending on when. Well, I know when the episode's coming out, but you sent me a text, or well, maybe it was in the tweet that it said the person was a hopeless romantic.
Yes.
Do you want to hear a story?
That was a twofold clue. I was very excited about
Uh,
that twofold clue.
if you haven't gathered by now, I did not solve the puzzle, so it
Oh,
did not help.
yes. Okay, cool. Well, I kind of figured you wouldn't because,
Mhm.
uh, well, I have a roommate named Johnny Badahona, and
Sure.
he designed this whole thing because I told him because he's like a musical genius. He'll be really upset when he finally listens to this episode and he is hearing me call him a musical genius. Uh, but yeah, so he ended up like writing this whole thing. I just gave him the cipher, and
Yeah.
he pulled out like a piece of music sheet paper, and then he just wrote the whole thing. And then he had it all written out, and he said, "Let me jazz it up a little," and then like did all the little chord progressions and stuff. And then I said, "What is the likelihood that Sam's going to get this?" And he was like, "Is he like a trained musician?" I was like, "No," and he was like, "The none."
Yeah. We can get to that. Hold on. Quick aside. Um, well, we'll circle around to both of these things, I guess. You asked me music history, And I told you that because of failures in the Jefferson County public school system, I have taken Intro to Music
Oh, I was
between
so
8 and 10
excited
times.
for this. I was so excited for this story.
So not because I failed these classes, just because every year for electives, I went to very bad schools. Not like bad, like bad test scores. Like it just was not a very good school up until college. And so whenever we'd have electives, they would just say, what about intro to music? What about music 101? And so like I have sat in, I can't like eight, and then arts and humanities, we also did this, lots of my classes. So I have sat down and had someone explain to me how to read music in 12 times. Because in college, we also then had to have another class where they were like, do you know how to read music? And I was like, I'm painfully aware of how to read music. The problem is, in intro to music 8 times, is how to know what keys are by the sound. And so I
Mhm.
knew to look, I know how to read a keyboard, but only if I know where middle C is. And I did not know where middle C was because I couldn't find where the brand was. Because that's how you tell, like, oh, where's the brand name on the piano? And then you find
Yeah.
that, and the C closest to that is middle C. And maybe I should look again. Maybe it's just right there, but I didn't see it. And so like, oh, never gonna know what keys he's pressing, which means I will not even know the letters to this cipher. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just because I assume the way that it works is you have A through G, and then based on sharps and flats, that gives you the other letters. So like just a
Smart,
regular
smart,
A through
smart.
G are probably A through G, but then like A sharp might be like H, and then like A flat would be whatever that would be on
Hmm.
that grid at like 4 by 7. Like that would give you the next one,
Yeah.
which is fine and good if you know what the chords are or you know what the keys are. But I had no idea
Yeah.
what the notes were, so I was like, well, all right, I think I know how to solve this, but I'm never going to figure it out because I can't hear music and know what they are. And I saw that the notes were kind of written in the frame, like you could sort of see them on the piano,
Yep.
but it was like I don't know if that's a treble clef or a bass clef. Like I have no idea, so I can't do this, and so I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I didn't solve it because I knew that I was not going to learn how to hear music and know the notes like Nick Cannon in Drumline, and so it wasn't going to happen.
well, Nick Cannon was not hearing note. Oh, he wasn't hearing like notes in drumline. Nick Cannon couldn't solve this.
Don't you
I mean,
talk
if
about
my
Nick Cannon like that?
if my puzzle was like, then yeah, he could solve it. But it's not that.
Did you know that
Also, I love that
Wild
we
'N
have
Out is
assumed
coming back?
it's Nick Cannon, not just Nick Cannon and drumline. It's Nick Cannon as a person can do this.
Well, did you know that Wild 'N Out is coming back?
Yes, I do.
And have you
I
seen the
did not
one
know you were.
preview
I
of?
did not know you were a Wild and Out fan.
Of course, I was a Wild 'N Out fan. I I don't know how to address you. Whatever. Of course, I was a Wild 'N Out fan. It
See,
was a great show.
you, Sam, you are. It'll be revealed later that you are the cipher we have been trying to decrypt.
I Let's go back to the failing schools thing. Um, before I became an annoying encyclopedia of Jewish history and puzzles, I sat around not listening in class and talking about what rappers we liked. Like that was a large portion of school was like we're not going to listen to you, ma'am. Have you heard the Kendrick Lamar mixtape? And like that would be a large topic. There was not a lot of learning going on. And then I went to college and was like, oh, books. Oh, I like this much better. But of course I watch Wild 'N Out. I'm from Fern Creek. Of course I watch Wild 'N Out. What's wrong with you?
Shout out to Fern Creek.
I bet every kid my age who lived in Fern Creek also watched Wild 'N Out because it's a great show. Whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So
Each week on Solve It. Gosh dang it! I was gonna blend right into it, but you got me.
I'm gonna tell you this story, but we might cut it because I don't think it'll make sense in the continuity.
Okay.
But never mind. It's too long. It's a funny story about me being a hopeless romantic, or well, being hopeless and a romantic. But
Do I know this story?
no, it just happened. Maybe this will be our like mid mid-show story because we always seem to have one right in the middle. So go ahead.
Each week on Solve It, one of us sends a puzzle to the other one tries to solve. And usually in an episode, I will have Sam explain what the puzzle is. However, this is strictly a musical cipher. So instead of Sam explaining the puzzle, which I would love to hear Sam hum out this piece, instead, we have decided to just listen along as an audience. So here is the cipher. And that's when you'd edit in the thing.
Yeah, so future Sam is going to put that in there. That's pretty straightforward.
That is strictly for future Sam.
Also, hey, future Sam.
Hey, future Sam.
You're doing all right.
I hope you made it out of the woods, future Sam.
You're a pretty good guy. Just a little encouragement, future Sam. You're great. Anyway, we'll go on with the show.
Shut up, Pat Sam. You don't know nothing. You don't know me.
I'm still in the woods.
The woods changed me.
Go ahead, do the rest of the bit.
So, I already asked you. So, as you said before, Sam, you did not solve the cipher because it was a musical one, and you don't know how to like listen to music and know it by ear, which I also don't know how to do. So, this is not me coming to you as a smarty smart. I had to have this professionally done by a musical genius.
Sure.
But what I sent you is obviously a musical cryptogram. It is where people would take musical notes A through G, and let me say that again. It is where people would take musical notes A through G and throw a series of sharps and flats and naturals in to create messages. So A through G is obviously A through G, but things like G flat would be an L in this cipher, which we'll get into later.
Sure.
Very rarely was this used for espionage or hidden messages. There was some research I found that it was used in World War II for a minute, and it was used by the British and was written out as orchestral scores that people familiar with music could read. But it was rarely played because it would sound like trash and draw suspicion. But if you listen to our cipher, which you just did, you will find that we wrote an actual message out, and that is why there is a note in there that just goes, Bwah! That is where that note comes from.
That was a good indication that that's what the code was.
So that's the reason. Yeah, that's the reason why they wouldn't write out messages. And Johnny, when he was writing that, was so furious because it goes like and it like just does not fit anywhere in the music. And he tried to play that note as fast as possible just to like not draw suspicion. But I was like, no, he's gonna know.
Yeah.
Most of the time, this cipher was used to pay homage to the greats. Most of the time, Most of the time, musical ciphers were used to pay homage to the greats. Over the course of music, you can see a lot of the same patterns, such as B flat A, C, B sharp spells out B-A-C-H, which is Bach. And you see that all throughout the musical community. And you'll see people write in musical scores where they pay homage to their instructors and things like that. So it was kind of like an Easter egg for those eagle-eared listeners. I said eagle-eared in my notes because I didn't know. I know it's eagle-eyed, but I didn't know if there was a similar animal you could say for ears. Elephant-eared listeners.
Good one.
Thank you. One of my favorite uses of this is by an English composer named Edward Elgar, who, like you, loved puzzles and frequently put them in all of his pieces. He actually wrote a practice, like warm-up piece, and he would have the notes G, E, D, G, E, and that was because it was written for the Gedge sisters, and their last name was spelled G, E, D, G, E, and he would use that throughout the course of the entire practice sessions to hide their name in it. And he actually wrote a whole piece. In 1899, he had this whole movement. It was called variations, and variations where you take one piece and then you just have different variations of it. A ton of composers do this. And his was called the Enigma Variations. And it is widely known to contain secret messages or motifs, but these were never solved. So over the course of these variations, people kind of know that whenever there's changes in the way the music sounds, he's probably writing out messages, or he is putting in the name of his wife or his instructor or people that have inspired him, but
Quick
they
question.
have never... What's that?
What nationality was this person? Was he
He was
German?
English.
Oh,
English. But tons of
that's
German
not what I
people.
expected.
And the thing is, English people rarely ever used this type of encryption. It was mostly a German thing.
Germans
And
love
it was
enigmas.
Germans love enigmas. But yeah, they would use this because it kind of became like a fun Easter egg to put into your music to pay homage or like do something for you. So these ciphers in music can be used for writing secret messages, paying tribute, and even for love. And that is where
Mm.
we find the focus of today's podcast. And it is a man by the name of Robert Schumann. Robert Schumann, following our brand of saying he was the blank of blank, he was the Edgar Allan Poe of music. He,
Good.
yep, that is a specific reference for all the true fans. He would hide ciphers in his music, but he'd mostly hide the same messages, and I'll get into that later, but primarily he would hide these messages for love. He was indeed one of the biggest hopeless romantics that I have ever read about. He was a composer and regarded as one of the greatest during the Romantic era. And that is when I said he's a hopeless romantic. He was a composer during the Romantic era. So he's a hopeless romantic and he's a romantic composer. You can't see it right now, but I'm making a face like, gotcha.
Oh, okay. You're right. I can't see that.
Also, they can't see
program.
it. This is a podcast. This isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was. This is where my notes get a little wonky. So here we go.
That's
I'm gonna
okay.
do this the best I can. He originally went to school to be a lawyer, but he was so torn between becoming a lawyer and becoming a musician that he ended up finding named Friedrich Wieck. And he was a mega famous piano teacher. And he ended up telling Schumann that he would be one of the greats of all time. And he eventually shifted over all of his focus into composing. And he would... he eventually shifted over all of his efforts into composing. And several times out of his music, he would write these big sweeping songs and he would just attribute them to people that he just met, mostly girls. One of my favorite examples of this is that he had this one piece where it was this girl, her last name was Abeg, and it's A-B-E-G. And he wrote an entire thing of using the notes A-B-E-G as the beginning of every single movement. And it was this girl that he just met in a bar one night. It wasn't even anyone that he knew. Exactly. This kind of guy. And he was prone to having these like very super romantic quotes and just beautiful things said in like this very poetic way about girls he would just meet. This was, and you're going to love this. I wrote down the entire quote because it was too much to not like write down. This was something he wrote to a friend about one of his first crushes whenever he was like 14 years old. And this is the exact quote. Were I but a smile, how I'd flit about her eyes. Were I but joy, how gently would I throb in all of her pulses. Yes, might I be a tear, I would weep with her. And if she would smile again, how gladly I would die on her eyelash and gladly be no more.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, just like this kid, just writing things like that. And he would do this kind of stuff all of the time. And he would just write poems and like put girls in music and just things like that. But he would do it all secretly as kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge that like, I did this for you. A very Sam Cherry-esque quality.
Do you want to hear a story about me being...
I do want to hear a story.
Not being a hopeless romantic, but being a romantic and hopeless. So my girlfriend and I can tell this story because this episode comes out on Wednesday and our anniversary is on Monday. But we have our 1 year anniversary.
Ooh.
And I bought her gifts. And I'm a very forgetful person, and I've learned that over the years. And so I write a lot of stuff down, and I'll put it in my phone. And so when we're out and we're shopping or whatever, she'll say, "Oh, I want this thing." And so I will take a picture of it and save it in my phone. And she knows that I do this. Like I have a folder on my computer that, is just her name because like it's full of pictures of things that she's pointed out, so that when, gift, situations come up, I can just go into that folder or go into that folder on my phone, and then like, okay, these are the things she wants, because I've given up any hope that I'm going to remember, because I'm not going to remember. And so one time she pointed out this book, and she said, oh, I really want this book. And I took a picture of it. And so then our anniversary is coming up on Monday. And a couple days ago, I was like, oh, let me go buy her a present. I open up the folder. Oh, yeah, I'll buy that book. So I go to Barnes & Noble, and I grab the book, and it's this nice woman. And she's like, it's like a cookbook. And she's like holding a cake. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, cool. Go buy the book. Go buy another one of her presents, and then go home. And I've got the book sitting on my table, and I'm like, oh, let me like leaf through this, just because I like cooking. I like to see if it's a cookbook, like obviously we're gonna make some of the recipes in here. What's in here? And I open it up, and I'm assuming it's like a pastry book because it's got a cake on the front, and there's like quesadilla recipes and like guacamole, and I'm like, oh, so it's like any kind of cooking book. Okay, that's cool. And so I start leafing through. And there's lots of articles and like pictures, but not a ton of recipes. And I found that peculiar. And then there was a section that was like at the bar. And I was like, what kind of book is this? Like, it's like explaining like what your bar should be like your alcohol, like your bar. And I turned to the next page, and it says planning your engagement party. And I realized that I have bought my girlfriend of 1 year. I have bought her a wedding planning book. And again, I have no memory of this. I assumed the conversation we were having was she pulled the book out and said, if I ever get engaged, I'd love a book like this. And as her serious boyfriend, I took a picture of it, but did not put in the notes, hey man, don't buy this until you're engaged.
Sam.
Exactly. No, okay, so the listeners don't know this, but I did that earlier when you were talking about putting the music in. You said, oh, here's the piece. There was a bit where you and I were talking, and I said, hey, future Sam, here's what you do, because I don't have a memory, and like I need cues from the past to tell me to do things. And I did not put a cue, and so I'm still going to give it to her. Like, I bought it. She wanted it. She'll just keep it on her shelf and if we get engaged, like, now she'll have it. But yeah, I bought my girlfriend for our 1 year anniversary a wedding planning book. We are not engaged. I just bought her a wedding planning book. So so that's what I mean. I'm not a hopeless romantic, because we're very happy, but I am a romantic and utterly hopeless as a human being. So there you go.
There's no way this is making it into the podcast. No way. But I just remembered this because I was like, oh yeah, their anniversary is tomorrow. And then as you're telling that story, I was like, oh my gosh, I vividly remember September 11th, 2015, where you and Sophie had already decided to start dating, but you were like, there's no way we're going to start dating on September 11th. And so you waited another day.
Here's the conversation. It was September 10th, and we were hanging out, and we were at my house, and I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. And then I looked her in the eyes, and I said, oh, no, we can't. And we of course, everyone now knows the punchline, but oh, no, we can't. And she says, why? And I said, it's after midnight, which in retrospect was not a lot of information I was giving her. But I just said,
yeah. Because I turned into a pumpkin. Oh, no.
Right. That was not a very, but I don't understand. I said, Sophie, it's 9/11. I'm 9/11. And so we had this like long conversation about, should we just say it's the 10th, or should we round it up to the 12th? Inaccurate at all, right? The 10th we could say like, well, it was still the same night. We're gonna call it the 10th. The 11th was technically when I asked her. The 12th is just right out made up. But we figured it would be right because we're trying to be respectful, and it's like, well, if we're posting all of these happy pictures of us on the 10th, people are already pre-sad for 9/11. Obviously 9/11 is right out. But by the 12th, it's been 15 years. By the 12th, we've had our sad day of remembrance, and then we've moved on.
Yeah.
And so we decided that we would start dating on the 12th, despite the fact that it was just completely not true. It was just out of respect for a national tragedy. We decided to not be doing exactly what we'll be doing on Monday, which is posting cute pictures of each other and captions about how we care about each other, because that would be disrespectful. So we decided not to do that. Yeah. So
Smart.
that was a true thing. That was a real story that I really did. There you go.
In 1932, things start to get a little wonky. Schumann began to receive education from Friedrich Wieck, that guy that I was talking about, the mega famous piano teacher. And he started this really weird friendship / attraction with his daughter, Clara. Clara, who was a musical prodigy. She was one of the best pianists in the entire world at the time. And she was this girl that Robert Schumann had this like incredible attraction to. And his teacher, Wieck, he was very, very not on board with this whole relationship. And the reason why is because Robert was 22 and she was 13.
Oh.
Yes. So her father was super against the relationship, but that did not stop this really weird correspondence with them for like 2 full years. So they would just like hang out and write letters to each other, and she was super into him. And it wasn't just like a creepy one-way relationship. It was a creepy relationship, but it wasn't one way. Like both of them were very much like intentional on getting engaged or married, but the wishes of their father kind of got in the way. And this went on for 2 years. And during that time, Schumann would become a world-renowned composer. And he began relations with another girl.
I'd like to state for the record that I no longer think this guy is admirable. Just so we're clear, my previous admiration for his romantic talents is now completely gone. Just so we're clear.
Come on, man! It was the 1830s. Everyone was doing it.
Well, no, I'm out.
Okay, well, he's about to get more admirable / less admirable. So he kind of ended things with Claire, and he started relations with another girl. And her name was Ernestine von Fricken, which is a hilarious last name. She was the daughter of a noble. And this kind of ended his love for Clara. Clara, who was 16 at the time at this point, or 15 at the time at this point. But Ernestine was 16. So she was only a year older than Claire at the time that they began this engagement.
Yeah, super gross.
Yep, super gross. And his relationship with her kind of ended the attraction with Claire. Well, that and her father, Claire's father, found out about their secret correspondence, and they had planned to get married a year before he had met Ernestine. And the father, in a very notebook-style way, took all of the letters that they had written to each other and burned them. And he kind of would do this process.
And they made him eat it. That's what you do. You burn them in front of him, and then it's like, now you're going to eat this. And then I'm going to kill you because you're in a relationship with my 13-year-old daughter.
You're going to be a great father.
I'm going to be a great dad. Making. Here's the thing.
Both of you.
If I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 22-year-old starts a relationship with her, I'm gonna do much worse than make him eat ashes. That's gonna go poorly.
Man, I cannot wait. Jeez, man.
I'm glad I edit the podcast and I can just cut out.
I know. Jeez Louise, you're gonna show him that video of you walking through the woods with those creepy ass messages, and then and then it's gonna be like a photo, like it's gonna end with a Photoshop of his dead body, and then you're gonna like be behind him with a mask on. It's gonna be weird.
Don't date a 13-year-old.
Don't date my 13-year-old daughter, you graduated college student.
Yeah, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Yep. I mean, no judge will convict you.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're right, murder. I'm going to cut all this out. It doesn't matter. None of this is going in.
Yeah. Okay, good. So in 500 years earlier, in In 1834, that's the year where Schumann's cryptography really started seeping into his larger works. This wasn't just for girls at bars anymore. And it was in this massive piece, in his most famous piece for his cryptography, and it was called Carnival. And in Carnival, every single section began with A, E flat, C, B. And this notation was investigated and shown to be a cipher spelling ASCH, which was a German town and the birthplace of his then fiance. And this was a present to her. And but it was only a short while later that the engagement between the two was broken off mutually. So he was no longer engaged to Ernestine von Fricken. And Schumann was super prone to like really big bouts of depression. And it wasn't until he began correspondence with Clara again that his depression started to lighten up. Yeah, so Clara comes back into the picture. And he actually started super hardcore pursuing her. Also, still at this time, she is still under the age of 18.
I hate all of this.
He dedicated a piece to her, and it began this really interesting motif that we began to see in all of his pieces, which is C, B flat, A, G sharp, A. So let me say that again. We began to see an interesting motif in all of his pieces, which is C, B flat, A, G sharp, A, which spells out C-L-A-R-A, Clara. And he began to put this in almost all of his pieces. He would have this really interesting set of notes, just all in his pieces, hitting out somewhere, like one instrument or one group of instruments would always play this part. It was always spelling out her name. And the reason why he did this was it was a love note to her, because her father was still very much against the relationship, and he was burning all the correspondence between them. So the only way they could communicate was through these secret little messages he would write in his songs, which, yes, it is a younger girl and he is an older guy, but I think that's something beautiful about that.
No.
You're not on the side of this guy. I can feel that right now.
Can you feel it by me saying no all the time? Yeah.
Yeah. But in 1837, when Clara became 18, the two were secretly engaged. And her father, Wieck, he found out about this, and naturally he was super pissed, and he rejected it. He rejected the entire engagement. But Schumann kept dedicating more and more music to her, and all with that familiar motif, C, B flat, A, G sharp, A. Continuously putting that motif in all of his music. And then in 1839, Clara rejected her father's consent, and she had to sign an affidavit saying that Schumann didn't need her father's consent. And I don't know how marriages worked back then, but there was this really big legal battle following that. And the only way they would get married is if they convinced to a judge that her father had no business in the relationship. And usually, in today's times, you're just like, all right, well, I don't need your permission later. But in this time, there was much more going on. And love wins out. And
I was going to say, back then, women were like 2 steps above cattle in the eyes of the law. So, I mean, I can understand why they were not exactly allowed to make their own choices about who they marry.
True. But in 1840, love won out, and they won the case, and they became married. And that was shortly following, I believe it was her 21st birthday. So around her 21st birthday, they were actually married. So it's better now? Is it better now?
No, it's still bad. If you trick a 13-year-old into falling in love with you when you're 22, I don't really care if 7 years later she's still in love with you.
I feel like that's the plot to the movie The Time Traveler's Wife.
I do not know that movie.
Well, it's a movie about a time traveler, and he gets married to this girl.
And that's his wife. I see that. Okay.
And that's his wife, and that's essentially the entire premise.
Okay, then yeah, I get that. Sure.
Okay, good. So, following their marriage in 1840, this was the best years of his life. But Clara soon became far more famous than him, and that put a huge strain on their relationship. she was touring a lot more, and she was beginning to play more and more of her own music and more pieces where she was being recognized as one of the world's greatest pianists, and he was kind of being left alone in the shadows. And 4 years later, in 1844, he had a nervous breakdown, and making music and writing music became unbearable to him, and he was unable to finish most of his works. But in 1848, he began to mentor Johannes Brahms, who all the music majors out there is freaked out because Johannes Brahms is a really amazing composer. And both Clara and Robert poured into him and like really honed his musical talent. And but this still was no use in the depreciating psyche of Robert, who in 1854 super began to lose it. He would stay up most nights and he would write this piece, and this piece is known as the Ghost Variations. And the Ghost Variations were these pieces of music that he believed was being given to him by angels and demons that were haunting him.
Yeah, okay. All right, you've got my attention back.
So the major pieces, like the ones in the major chords, they were the ones that were symbolic of the angels. But the ones in the minor chords, they were the demons. And he would be, it's a variation, so he's writing the same piece over and over and over again. But with each piece, he would give it the tone on each demon that was haunting him. And so Clara still, though, she was very much in love with him. And she would write in her journal several times that he would be up at all hours of the night while she would be trying to tend to him. And he would be saying, like, he'd be screaming, like, I am not worthy of your love. And that really kind of broke her heart. And in 1854, the same year that Ghost Variations came out, actually, just 2 days after he had finished Ghost Variations, he jumped into the Rhine River and he attempted suicide, and he survived, but he was taken to a mental hospital where he was deemed incurably insane. And
Sure.
for 2 years after that, Clara still loved him and still poured all of her heart and soul into him. But in 1856, he died. And after that, Clara spent the rest of her life dedicating her talent to his music. And she would oftentimes play variations of his pieces and play his pieces all with that similar motif: C, B flat, A, G sharp, A. And it's not known whether or not she knew that those... Oh, never mind, she did know that. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like I finished it there. So I finished it with that, so you can cut it off at after that A.
Sure, yeah. I think
and then I'll say this.
It makes sense. It makes good sense.
And then I'll say...
that, yeah.
And then I will say this one thing, which I really love about this. And after that, she never took another husband or another lover for the rest of her life. Well, unofficially, but she had a possible secret relationship with Johannes Brahms, the person that she tutored and mentored. But as far as history goes, we kind of keep that one off the books and say they never did anything. But it's highly suggested that they had a secret love affair. But for the purpose of the podcast, let's just say that her undying love to Robert continued for the rest of her life.
Still gross. Still hate it.
So that was the story about Robert, and that was a more of a downer than usual. I was really hoping that it would end on a more uplifting note, and I was hoping that you'd be more attracted to this character. But I really feel like I really should not have mentioned the 13-year-old thing, and I feel like the tone would have been a lot different. You really would have liked him, I think.
Yeah, you really lost me when he was 22 and she was 13. You really lost me.
It was over from then on. It was
any sort of love after that is like, oh well, yeah. You manipulated a 13-year-old. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but like he did that thing where he put that little thing in all of the songs, like writing her name in the music. That's cool, right?
Yeah, I mean the Zodiac Killer used codes too. I'm not just affectionate to everyone with codes. They're interesting, but interesting, sure. The Clara thing is interesting, but I'm not gonna invite him to dinner. No.
You're not gonna invite them together to dinner?
I'm not gonna invite any of them to dinner.
So let's get to the puzzle.
In just again a short story. I like that I can just add these stories in these like dips because then I can just completely cut them out and it won't change the conversation. Um, but in reference to my 8 to 12 music appreciation classes I've taken, there was one point in high school. Have you ever had those things where you're like, did I just go into an alternate universe? Like something is just, it's so confusing what someone's telling you that you're like, this can't be the real world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I remember my senior year in arts and humanities, and again, this is like the third or fourth arts and humanities class I've had in high school. And we're going over composers again. And the teacher pulled up this picture of this guy and was like, this is Richard Wagner. Like, okay, he's not Hitler. And I remember that moment clearly because everyone in the class was like, what did she just say? And she like clarified it. She was like, isn't Hitler. Hitler really liked his music, but he's not Hitler. And we, being hooligans, then like made fun of her for this. We're like, whoa, hold on. That's not Hitler. And we did this for like 20 minutes of like continually trying to make sure, right? Like as if we don't know who Adolf Hitler is. Like she pulled up a picture of the guy's face and was like, this is not Hitler. And we just thought, okay, silly lady. We had plenty of silly. What did you say?
I was like, well, but what would have been more confusing for you, because it would have been like you stepped into alternate reality, is if that happened and then everyone like immediately opened like their pens and started writing on the notebook.
Here's where it got weird because
it hasn't gotten weird yet. Okay.
No, because that was pretty like par for the course, right? Like there are a lot of really hardworking, good-intentioned people at that school. But there were plenty of occasions where a teacher would say something and you would just be like, what is going on? But then I went to college and I went to a nice college that I got a good education from. But in my maybe 50th music appreciation class at this point, I'm in music appreciation in college, learning the scales and learning composers again. And a picture of Richard Wagner pops up on the screen. And I swear to you, my very intelligent, like smart guy, music appreciation teacher said, this isn't Hitler. Hitler liked his music, but this is not Hitler. And I remember just thinking like, I'm traveling through time. This is an alternate universe. Why does anyone...
I'm in this universe where Richard Wagner is Hitler. Or is not like, Hitler.
Or that he looks like Hitler or something. But I remember, and it was like, as if people would be like, wait a minute, did Hitler like this guy? Or is that Hitler? Like, that was what they kept trying to clarify. I was like, just so we're clear, Hitler drew inspiration from his music, but he himself is not Hitler. And it was like, Hitler is one of the most recognizable historical figures. Like, everyone knows. And it happened twice that someone had to clarify that Richard Wagner, which he's German, so maybe it's like Wagner or something. Actually, it might be Wagner.
It is Wagner.
It is Wagner. Okay, yeah. They had to clarify twice that Wagner was not Adolf Hitler. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I know.
I really want you to like now go back and watch Inglourious Bastards and then see like that guy looks like Richard Wagner. And it's like, what is happening?
Yeah. Wagner's in the balcony and they start shooting him. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I see why even this movie, they were confused whether or not it was Wagner or Adolf Hitler.
That really weird scene in that movie wherever they spend like a good 2 or 3 minutes being like, okay, now this is the guy we're trying to get. This is Richard Wagner. Don't shoot him.
He is not Hitler.
I know they're comparable.
He's not at all Hitler.
So watch out.
This is why when people are like, Sam, you don't know the capital of Idaho? Didn't you learn that in school? And I'm like, guys, I am surprised I can read. Like, it is just, it is a slew of well-intentioned good people and like piles of bureaucracy of me barely getting an education.
That is actually That is an amazing way to sum up all of education. Is well-intentioned people and piles of bureaucracy.
Like,
That is the best
good-hearted
one
people
sentence summary of education ever said.
I had an English teacher who, again, I was very frustrated with, but a very, like, you could tell, like, nice lady doing her best. But the problem was, and I don't know how this happened, so English was her fourth language, right? She was Turkish, and her fourth language was English. And she was awful at it. Like, I swear to you, we heard this every day. She would say, I'm not going to do an accent because I'm not a racist, but she would say, I think so that you need to turn in paper. And I swear to you, she said that every day. We'd have sheets and she's like, I think so that you need to turn in paper. Not to turn in paper, sorry. She would say, I think so that you need to turn in paper. It was like just crazy town that this is what was happening. And every single day,
Yeah.
she would say things. And she's our senior English teacher. And she would say things that were just like, I cannot believe these words are coming out of your mouth. It's fine, you're an immigrant, but like, why are you teaching senior English? When during the year, she is a trained math teacher. She's not even an English teacher. She's trained as a math teacher. And when she like got into the system, they were like, yeah, but you speak English and we need an English teacher. So now you're the English teacher. And like that was my senior English, was this really good-hearted, trying her best Turkish lady who was not trained to teach English, nor had a full grasp on the language, teaching just monsters of kids, right? Like we were just monsters. And she was like trying to teach us, and we're furious that this is the situation, and she's sad, and like we were just unmerciful to this woman. We had to write, oh God, what's the word? I can't remember what it is. It's a type of research paper. I'm never gonna remember. Whatever. The story only works, but whatever. It was like this kind of research paper, and whatever the first word was, she had it spelled wrong the entire semester, where it was like written on the board and it was spelled wrong, and that was, oh God, I'll remember it and I'll like yell it later in the recording. I'll be like, oh, it's duh. There was just lots of things where she would just say stuff and we would all just be like shaking our heads like, look, I am a 12th grader and not very smart, but I know that what you're saying is incorrect about the English language. You want to solve the puzzle?
I do want to solve the puzzle. I love your Seneca stories. They will always bring me joy.
I'm just gonna bleep out the name of the high school because again, they're well-meaning people. It's.
I actually don't even think that. I mean, I think I said it like once. I think I'm the only one that said it.
I know. I purposefully did not say the name of the high school I go to because they are good, well-meaning people who have a lot to deal with, and they don't need some.
You'll take it and then like replace it with me saying Greenwood.
They don't need some jerk on a podcast criticizing them when they're just doing their best. Like, they don't need that. No, we will not be saying where I went to high school. Anyway, how do you solve the puzzle?
So, as I said earlier, my amazing roommate, Johnny Barahona, designed this cipher just for you. So we pulled a decryption of this cipher, and it was Schumann's cipher, very appropriately called the Clare cipher. And we pulled it from an article in the Musical Times from 1966, which is, if you type in Robert Schumann cipher onto your search engine, I don't want to say one just in case in the future we get sponsored by like Bing or something. I don't want to like I don't emphasize Google too much. But it is the first link.
Dogpile. If you dogpile this, you will.
if you ask Jeeves this.
If you igloo this, you will find. We can get sponsored by Igloo. They need us.
What's the thing? It's what's the deep
New
web?
Company. I don't want to know about.
Oh,
that.
really?
Igloo is now a company that sells domain names.
Ooh.
Or cell phone plans. I don't remember what Igloo does, but they're a company. They sponsor podcasts, but they're not a search engine anymore. That's a different company.
Hey. So if you igloo this.
It's Tor is what you're thinking of. You're thinking of Tor. Tor.
Tor?
That's how you get to the deep web. I seriously probably sound like an idiot because I don't understand how that works. But
Yeah, but I remember me and you went on it once. Also, by the way, I am not fully convinced, or Sam and I are not fully convinced the deep web is just the bottom half of icebergs.
if you just look up deep web, and maybe this is just like a meme, and we don't even get that this is a funny joke.
Yeah.
We think, isn't it so silly that every time you try to look up the deep web, they just show you a picture of an iceberg?
Yeah.
But maybe that is a deep web joke where they're like, what if every time we tried to explain it, we just showed a picture of an iceberg? It's the Harambe of like, we're gonna run this joke
blank
into
of
the
blank.
crowd. Yes, it is the blank of blank.
It is the Harambe of the deep web.
Um,
Okay, so it is the first article. It is a JSTOR article, and it's the Musical Times from 1996, and the decrypted version of that cipher is there. So now you may not have an ear for music, so I put the actual notes on the page in front of the piano, which you saw. And if you're ready, I have the actual notes written all out, so you can just take this and then plug it through the cipher.
That would be great.
Okay, so the notes are G sharp, F. Hold on, let me try that again. The notes are G sharp, F flat, G flat, B flat, B natural, G sharp.
Hold on. There are lots of little symbols I have to draw with these, so hold on.
Oh.
G sharp, F flat.
Do you
B flat.
now in your 19 years of music appreciation, do you know how to draw a flat?
I do know how to draw a flat. I took 12 classes on how to draw a flat.
Hope you guys are ready for next semester. I'm enrolling in Sam's music appreciation class, wherever he teaches people the combined knowledge of all he has of music appreciation.
Where you learn, we just go through different pictures of people and figure out if they're Hitler.
It's music appreciation, who is and is not Hitler.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm at G flat.
B flat.
Okay.
B natural, which is just a regular B.
Right.
G sharp. Then C sharp. C.
B natural.
Oh my
B
gosh.
flat.
G sharp. G sharp.
G sharp. F.
So your first
flat.
one should be G sharp, F flat, G flat, B flat, B natural, and G sharp. That's the first word.
Okay. Got it.
And next is C sharp, C, E sharp, F natural, and F sharp.
Okay. C sharp, C, E sharp, F, F sharp.
Yes. Then D flat, B flat, B, D, A sharp, and F sharp.
Okay. D flat, B flat. Then one after that?
B,
Okay.
D, A sharp, F sharp. And if you're wondering what that note was, that is the D right there.
That makes sense.
Because if you look at the notation, it just goes, all of them are kind of all in the same level, and that D is super far down.
That's funny.
Then the last one is A flat, E sharp, B flat, F, G sharp, B flat, F sharp.
Okay. Now I'm gonna clicky clack on my computer, so let's not say anything crazy important.
Okay.
Because I need to get to that article.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna do the not the outro, but the thing.
Okay, what am I looking up?
It is the first article when you Google or Igloo Schumann cipher. It should be a JSTOR article, and it's an article from the Musical Times from 1966.
How do you spell Schumann?
SCHUMANN.
Cipher?
Yeah, cipher.
Schumann cipher? and I've got JSTOR.
That's the one.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me make sure I've got this. Beep boop beep bop. So the D. It starts with DH and then goes A B C E F G.
Whoa. Hold on. Wait, what?
I'm looking at this. So the diagram I've got here has a flat symbol and then says DH
Hold on.
E F G. I do not understand.
Let me pull up this ciphers. Let me pull this up with you so that we both have it.
I just need to, or I'll look on the wiki.
No, the wiki's not good.
What? I thought that's why we use the wiki.
No. Because they didn't use the wiki doesn't use the same cipher. The wiki uses one that is like it's because the Schumann cipher is super specific.
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
if you see on the JSTOR article,
Yeah.
you look down, it says the Schumann ciphers, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then if you go
One second.
down, example 3, that's what it is. So G sharp is, hold on.
I read this. It still starts with D and H. That's where I'm confused.
Whoa. Oh, shizzle bizzle.
Is the whole puzzle messed up?
I don't think the whole puzzle's messed up. I'm going to look at this for just a second.
Okay.
Gosh dang it, Johnny. Never trust him. Holy cross.
Is it wrong?
It's not wrong.
Good.
I'm still looking. It might be wrong, but I'm not willing to admit that just yet.
That's okay.
What is happening here?
Okay, looking at this chart, since I go to the row that has G in it, and then I go to the column that
Yeah. Hold
has,
on.
I'm sorry, I go to sharp, and so is the first letter X.
Hey, the first letter is not X. That's what's throwing me right now. Wait, what?
Okay.
G sharp. Oh no. Oh, gosh.
Is that how I would read it if it was?
No. Gosh dang it. Hold on. Johnny did something earlier, and he explained this to me, and I wasn't listening, and I should have been listening. I think he did something that I'll have to explain, but I'll have to find out what he did. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh. Johnny, what have you done? What has happened? Whoa. Johnny did something. I think he might have thrown it into a different clef.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at right now. I will not be home for the next 17 days, so I'll have to figure this out right now. What? Well, first off, that's wrong, but that's not where my main problem lies. What on God's green earth? See, what? I do not know what is going on here. Like, I have the answer in front of me, and I'm trying to make it make sense, but everything's like down a note or down a thing. It's right, but it's just down a note. I don't know why he did that. Weird. Like, instead of that, he must have done that. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'm just gonna have to like super quickly rewrite it
Yeah, no worries.
as,
I
huh?
said no worries.
Yeah, I'll have to rewrite it in the way that he did. He might have done a bass clef, but he didn't put a bass clef in the notation. So I don't know why. And he played these notes. So if anything, oh shoot. If anything, we'll just have to re-record that one part. Okay, that's a sharp.
Y-
While I'm doing this, if you could come up with my outro joke, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks. Just to give you something to do while I'm trying to solve my own mystery over here.
Movies with puzzles is like a top result because I search it every
Yeah, yeah,
week.
yeah. Also, it's because it's because your phone is eavesdropping on you.
Yeah, but that time I didn't say anything about movies with puzzles. You said outro joke, unless it's learned what that means.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Has
I
been
don't care.
listening to us.
Google can run my life. I don't care.
Dun, dun, na, 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 na. Dun, na, 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 na. Dun, na, 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 na. I've been listening to the Stranger Things soundtrack every last day.
Is that Stranger Things?
Yeah. Wait.
Does Donnie is Donnie Darko
Yeah,
confusing enough for us to
I know
count
what list you're on because I think I've been on the exact same list 1,000 times.
it every week? Does Donnie Darko count?
I
Good
guess
Donnie Darko joke.
if there's a puzzle in it.
There's not, but it's like a confusing movie. It's like a time travel movie. I mean, there's kind of a puzzle.
Yeah,
You've seen Donnie Darko, right?
I have.
The time traveler's wife's on here.
It is. That's funny.
Yeah.
What on God's green? I'm gonna kick Johnny right in the butt.
Okay.
L. Ah. E.
Okay, I've got it.
You have the answer to the puzzle? That's amazing.
No. You don't have the answer to the puzzle.
I don't have the answer to the puzzle.
So there's this movie called Predestination that's very good. I assume you've not seen Predestination, but it's got a puzzle in it. I'll tell you when you get this.
Okay. Super excited.
Or you could just tell me the answer. I just say what the answer is, and then when Johnny gets home, he explains to you how to get it, and then you tell me the notes, and we like re-record it later.
Okay.
I have an appointment.
Yeah, I can tell you that.
I don't think we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I know. Damn.
It's okay.
Okay.
I mean,
whatever.
art is a lie. And then we'll just well, I guess we don't have to re-record the video because I guess the video is right. We just need to change how we explain code. But that's okay. We can record it later.
God's green earth. This. Okay. So the answer is a quote from Robert Schumann, and it is it's talent works, genius creates.
Cool.
So what's gonna happen is I'll have to make a mark. I'm gonna say what things we need to re-record. I think the things we need to re-record are, what do we need to re-record? Because I know we have to re-record something.
Yeah.
Is it the would it be the notes? Would it just be that whole note section? Right,
Yeah.
sorry, the notes?
So Sam, in the future, what we're gonna need to put in here is reading the notes again, because no, the notes are correct, right? The notes are right. It's
No,
just
the
you
notes are not. I don't think the notes are correct, because if the notes
Okay,
are correct, they.
Then what you need to do is do it backwards and go and put it through the cipher and just get whatever notes that is and then play those notes. So it won't be as pretty, but it'll be accurate.
Uh-huh.
And then re-record the video and change the Instagram.
He did something. There's no way he messed it up this bad, because I was there with him as he was doing it.
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
So just ask me unless you have like an outro story part.
I do.
Okay. And do that, and then I'll just say that I've got it. And what's the answer?
Talent works, genius creates.
Okay. And then I think it'd be funny if you told me that was a quote from him, and then I said gross, and we could end it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Talent works, genius creates. That is a good quote. I mean, he's gross.
That is right.
All right, Zach, I got it.
Oh no, well, I have to tell you the thing at the end. So I'm gonna. Oh, first off, while Sam is solving that puzzle, I want to remind you guys that you can follow us on our Twitter and Instagram at Solve It Podcast, on our website, solveitpodcast.com, and on our MySpace, myspace.com. Oh, and on our MySpace, myspace.com/Solve It Podcast, to get news and puzzles and updates and things like that. Also, if you like our show, we would super love to know about it, and give us a rate and subscribe on the iTunes. That would be super helpful. And if you don't know how to do that, which I learned a lot of people don't know how to do, get in contact with us at our website, solveitpodcast@gmail.com, or just, if you're a fan of the podcast, say hey. We are always open to hearing from you guys, and also hearing who you are, because based on my research, Sam and I have a lot more fans out there than we thought we did. So if you enjoy our stuff, say hey. So Sam, have you solved the puzzle?
I have.
Okay, awesome. Before you say that, I want to say that the inspiration for this answer was because you are a man that is known for having amazing quotes, and so this is an amazing quote. And what is the answer?
Talent works, genius creates.
And that is one of the most famous quotes of our good friend Robert Schumann.
Gross.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this week's episode of Solve It. I'm Zach Johnson, co-hosting with Sam Cherry. As I just said, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and on our website and our MySpace, or email us. All of those things are at solveitpodcast.com. Yeah, so I'll say that, and then...
Yes, so the outro joke.
Tell me the outro joke.
So join us next week when Sam explains how Ethan Hawke... Okay, so remember this. How Ethan Hawke met his mother and his father and his daughter and his son at a bar.
His mother and his daughter... Wait, his mother and his father and his daughter at a bar?
And his son at a bar.
So it's his mother, father, son, and daughter.
A bar.
Okay, at a bar. Got it. Join us next week when Sam teaches us how Ethan Hawke met his mother, his father, his son, and his daughter at a bar. Thanks. Bye.
It's a really great movie.
I really am excited for that to make sense later.
Also, I think it's funny that you consider me a guy who's known for great quotes.
No, I mean, like, in the sense that whenever you get riled up, it's just like, what was that one thing you said where you talked about
oh God, who knows?
the screaming? I just remember your screaming color thing. That really is the precipice.
The screaming color is a quote from a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah, I know it's Taylor Swift, but like your interpretation of it.
It's from Out of the Woods.
I know.
It's a good song.
I do know, and I know that you know.
Yeah,
I know you love.
The whole world was gray, and we were screaming color. I like it. I really like it. I just feel like even talking about it, I could feel it. Yeah, I really like it. You're screaming color, not just color. Like neon coming off the page, three-dimensional, screaming color. That is our lives together. That's a great quote. That is a great line by Miss Taylor Swift. I really like her music.
I know, not even in a joking sense.
No, I'm being 100% serious. All right, I'm going to stop broadcasting.
Okay, well, I'm going to kick Johnny in the face.